appeared. Onhara, now known as T, was the owner of SWAT Up Entertainment, a rap label, a deluxe apartment in Dallas, and a mansion in Miramar, Florida. Yeah, that's what it is. And a diamond chain the size of a tow rope that he wore around his neck. Dangling at the end of his chain was a grinning mini T, clutching sacks of money like a cartoon bank robber, which is what Onhara increasingly resembled. In hindsight, it seemed obvious that a savvy cyber criminal would target Hellock. From 1998 to 2007, the percentage of homeowners with Hellock jumped from 10.6 to 18.4. That is really, really crazy numbers to be paying, on mortgage. It's just crazy. Credit balances soared. All the information the scammer needed was available online. The trick was cobbling it together. Onhara taught himself how. Using ListSource, a direct marketing company, he would collect mortgage information on married couples with $1 million homes. They qualify for high Hellocks. He would find leads or loan papers through public database and pay sites. Then use Photoshop to grab homeowners' signatures of documents. Next, he would build a profile of the victim by paying for a background search through skip tracing sites. They would give him birth dates, social security numbers, that's crazy, names of relatives, previous addresses, employment histories, and more. To get a mother's maiden name, he would use Ancestry.com. Really? If you can use your brain to do all this nonsense, why you not use your brain? Okay. Profile in hand, he would run a credit check on victims through annualcreditreport.com, a website set up by the big 3 credit reporting agencies. Onhara had discovered a flaw in the Experian portion of the site, which screened users with a personalized security question and several multiple choice questions. Onhara users had to click on the correct answer to proceed. But when Onhara refreshed his browser, he found that the site replaced certain answers with new ones. Clearly, these were red herrings. Onhara knew the correct answers to the security questions would appear persistently on screens as he refreshed. Enough refreshing would eventually reveal the true answer. Oh wow. And allow Onhara to access reports. Oh wow, that's a serious flaw. A spokesman for Experian says that the company is cooperating with law enforcement authorities, and since this case, we have refined our security protocols. They better. The reports provided Onhara with details about the victim's Hellock. He preferred credit union Hellocks. They were soft targets. At this point, artistry came into play. Onhara used a phone service called Spoof Card to make any number he wanted appear in a caller ID. Oh, that's so sad. This was key to his scam. With a spoof card, Onhara could fool financial institutions into thinking his call originated from the victim's phone. Onhara knew the system. He knew the questions he would get. Usually he had the answers along with the account numbers, balances, and passwords. Really? That means you really have to be a brain to have, well, I guess he might have had it, but anyway, he could switch ethnicity, age, and accent on a whim. A customer service rep was easy prey. Once in, Onhara would wire Hellock money out of the country. Financial institutions faxed wire transfers requests his eFax account, which converted faxes to emails. After attaching Photoshop signatures and phony headers, he would send them back to the firm. The money would be wired to banks in Asia, where mules that Onhara had recruited would withdraw the money, take a cut, and redeposit the funds into other accounts, or with hawalas, informal money brokers who ask few questions. I'm interested that these people are just saying Asia. They're not mentioning the country. I see that. I see right through that. They're just saying Asia. Alrighty. Finally, the money would wire back to the US into accounts Onhara controlled. At one point, he received a 40 million euro transfer. 40 million euro transfer. An individual. Anyways, let's keep going. He would further launder the money by depositing it into casinos and cashing out on check days later. He would buy ultra expensive luxury cars, drive them for a few months, then ship them to Nigeria, where they will be resold at a steep markup. Onwuhara was clearing about $7 million every 2 weeks, dollars, according to the FBI. The mastermind shared few details of the scam, even with his inner circle. Precious Matthews and Paula Gibson knew the most, mainly because Onwuhara couldn't impersonate women on the phone. He needed them to pose as female account holders and had to give them more information. Nabwe gathered mortgage information and loan documents. Ezenwa E. Onyedebelu, a promising young student from Dallas whom Onwuhara had tapped as his protege, laundered money. Henry Obilo, a hulking pre-med student. These are medical. This is a medical. Come on. Who doubled as Onwuhara's bodyguard. You're a med student and you're doubling as a bodyguard, for God's. When you can be saving lives in the hospital. Like, seriously? Specialized in Bank of America, BAC, Fortune America information. Any which ways. Onwuhara doled out profits according to a person's role. Callers received more than researchers, and the members of the crew competed to work the phones. If they weren't slick enough, Onwuhara bumped them back to online scoot work. All the money, all the information, all ran through him. He never stored sensitive data on his computer, keeping it instead on a flash drive he could easily destroy. But no matter the precautions he took to cover his tracks, something was bound to go awry. Sometimes you just hit the wrong man. On December 8, 2007, Robert Duke sat down in front of his PC. It was around 10 a.m. A few hours before Short was to take his wife to their regular weekend lunch near their home in Alexandria, Virginia. Short wanted to check his account at the U.S. Senate Federal Credit Union. A former U.S. Treasury agent, Short arrived in D.C. from South Carolina at the Treasury Department's National Chief of Investigators. He got into the politics and became Storm Thunder's Chief of Staff. He spent 30 years on Capitol Hill. He was, in other words, the wrong man to hit. As I say, every day for the thief, one day for the owner. So now owner be this so. That morning, Short couldn't log into his account. His password had been changed and the credit union was closed. Short called in on Monday. When he accessed his account, he saw that $280,000 was missing, most of it from his high limit HELOC account. He said, "This money was transferred to Korea." He recalls. They said, "Are you sure you didn't do that?" Hello, it wasn't me. He says, "Listen, if that amount of money was transferred to Korea, I would know, okay? And let me get money. I know, but no one I transferred $240,000 from my account. I'm not gonna stop and move." Any which ways. The credit union would protect Short from any losses. In fact, almost all of Onwuhara's victims eventually had their monetary losses covered by their financial institutions, although they still had to cope with the shock of identity theft and ruined credit ratings. That's, another fallout, Short called the Alexandria Police Department, the Secret Service, and the FBI. He called the big shots, okay? He called the big guns. Within days, an investigation was on the way. The investigators' first clue came from the IP addresses used to log into the Short's account. The FBI determined that someone had called the credit union to reset Short's password, sounding like an older white man. The caller claimed that the auto login into his account had vanished after his son had set up a new computer for him. He was convincing. But after the password was reset, the caller logged into the Short's account. While still on the phone, the FBI now had a precise IP address to track. It belonged to a Verizon wireless card registered to a fictitious name and a real address in Miami, Florida, just a few doors down Onwuhara's mansion, a fact the FBI would discover later. Onwuhara bought wireless internet service with prepaid debit cards, making him virtually untraceable. But he still had to go to Verizon VZ Fortune 500 store to make purchases. 2 deposits had to be made to the Verizon account tied to the Short crime. Both occurred in Plano, Texas. When the investigators pulled security video from the store, they saw 3 men at a kiosk. One was wearing an Ed Hardy hoodie covered in rhinestone skulls. Investigators began looking for names. They knew their thief had intercepted a call from the credit union to Short to confirm the wire transfer. Onwuhara had duped Short's phone company into remotely forwarding calls to Onwuhara's cell, a tactic he often used. But it backfired when FBI obtained a list of phones to which customers' home numbers were being forwarded. On the list, they found numerous prepaid phone numbers. Calls were being made from these numbers to bank accounts across the country and to 1-800 numbers belonging to spoof card. They were the scammers' virtual fingerprints. Every day for the thief, one day for the owner again. An FBI research warrant produced 1,500 recorded calls connected to the suspicious spoof card accounts. Spoof cards says that it doesn't routinely record calls made over its system, but the callers may opt to do so. The tapes were a jackpot for investigators. There were so many different voices, says FBI Special Agent Hadley Etienne. They all knew what to say. They all had it down. For months, investigators listened to the tapes, hoping for a break. You know how it is when you're reading a good book and you're just reading and reading and reading, says Michael Neal, the lead FBI investigator. It was like that. I was at home one weekend listening to calls, and this one came up. It was Onwuhara. In Onwuhara does a pitch-perfect impersonation of a middle-aged white doctor calling for a prescription to a CVS pharmacy. The prescription was for Valtrex, a herpes medication. Side eye. Anyways, the patient was Tobe Onwuhara. At last, investigators had a name. They pulled a Texas DMV photo of Onwuhara. It matched the image of the man in the hoodie from the Verizon video. Their query was in reach, but they needed more evidence. In April 2008, agents detained Onwuhara, Nabwe, Matthew, and Obilo at JFK International Airport in New York. The group was flying home after a vacation in Nigeria. They had stayed at the Ritz in London during their stopover. Onwuhara had even bought his diamond chain. Ooh, really? Investigators told the scammers they were being stopped as part of a routine travel check. Their real purpose was to confirm the voices, nicknames they had heard on the tapes, and phone numbers used in the calls. Now they would begin to investigate Onwuhara's phone and station cars in streets outside his Miramar mansion to conduct surveillance. So pretty much the FBI was trying to get as much information so they could build up a case. The crew starts to unravel. If the airport stop rattled Onwuhara, he didn't show it. He still ate fish and rice at the Papa Docs in Dallas. He still threw parties at the Chic Ghost Bar on the roof of the White. But nerves were fraying within his crew, according to Paula Gibson. Nabwe complained about his pay. Gibson agonized over his crimes, yet justified them by saying she was only hurting the banks. No, bitch. You're not just hurting just the bank. You're hurting the people that you scam, because sometimes the people might have to actually pay back to the bank sometimes. Yeah. You're also, it's just people's credit reports. You're hurting yourself. You're hurting your family members, people that love you. You're hurting the country that you come from. It's wrong. You're hurting so many people on so many levels, right? Anyways, Gibson agonized over her crimes but justified them by saying she was only hurting the banks. Matthew spiraled into a depression. She enjoyed the finer things Onwuhara provided her. Shopping sprees at high-end stores, weekends at the best hotels, a house with a new pool, but their relationship had grown combustal. She and Onwuhara fought. After one argument, he stormed through the Miramar house and she stormed through the Miramar house and smashed the TV screens of the plasma TVs. It was around this time that Onwuhara grew suspicious that law enforcement might be on to him. The FBI agents had placed both a pen register and a trap and trace device on his phone, which led them to record all outgoing and incoming calls. Onwuhara somehow found out when he called Singular / AT&T, his cell phone carrier. The company accidentally, in quote, revealed the name and number of the FBI technician tracking him, according to an FBI affidavit in support of a criminal complaint. But people who know Onwuhara don't think it was an accident. Yeah, that's even an accident. So he might have an informant somewhere that's giving him that information. He has a way of getting people to tell him everything, Gibson said. On July 30th, 2008, he destroyed his cell phone and switched to another phone the FBI wasn't monitoring. The FBI didn't know where he had gone. Was he making an escape? Emergency arrest warrants were obtained. 2 days later, on a perfect South Florida night, the agents watching Onwuhara's house noticed a commotion. Matthews ran outside, followed by a familiar-looking man. Matthews sped away in her Acura. The man followed in a black BMW X6 registered to Omuhara. The agents gave chase as the cars rocketed down the highway at more than 100 miles per hour. I got some calls, Neil says. They were like, hey, they're speeding. Should we stop them now? Neil consulted Etienne and the assistant U.S. attorney on the case. They decided to make the arrest. The agents on the ground followed the speeding cars to the Hard Rock Casino in Fort Lauderdale. The Acura and the BMW screeched to a halt at the curb in front of the casino. The drivers rushed inside, where local police detained them. The man from the BMW wasn't Omuhara, but rather it was his protege, Ezinwa Onyedebelu. In the seconds before the FBI arrived with handcuffs to make the arrest, Matthews wiped out her cell phone and fired off a text. Leave now! They got us! Leave! Run! Oh, she must have thought it was an act of love. Oh dear. Somewhere inside the Hard Rock Cafe, maybe at one of his beloved crap tables, one of the greatest cyber scammers in history took up his phone, calmly headed for a back door and hailed a cab. Then he melted into the night. He hasn't been seen since. Floating between worlds. I was taught by my dad not to be a follower, Omuhara once said. He is following his own treacherous path now, one that few have charted. A most wanted fugitive, he has a $25,000 bounty on his head. Almost all of Omuhara's co-conspirators were indicted and pleaded guilty. Precious Matthews was sentenced to 51 months in prison. Daniel Ojinta got 42 months. Abel Nabwe had his sentence reduced to 27 months after cooperating with prosecutors. Good for him. Paula Gibson and Ezinwa Onyedebelu helped prosecutors and had their sentences reduced to 15 months and 14 months, respectively. Only Henry Obilo pleaded not guilty. He was sentenced to 88 months in prison. Boy, you dumb. You dumb. As for Omuhara, the FBI claims to have no clue where he is. One accomplice swears he stayed in America. Maybe he's floating between worlds in cyberspace, probing for new cracks in new systems. The boy is an enigma, says one of his sisters. What can I tell you? I thought that was a great write-up. So pretty much really what has happened right now is that as in 2013, Omuhara was caught in Australia. Yeah, he was extradited back to America to serve his jail time, and I think he was given 17 months jail time, a little over 6 years in jail. So, but this was in 2013 again. I say at the end of the day, it's most likely that you get caught, you know. But I'm wondering to myself, I'm thinking, I wonder how many is this going to deter young men from doing this, you know. It's kind of sad because we really don't know what all the fallout is going to be. We're still like watching, you know. There's a lot of people that might be thinking of doing business in Nigeria or signing contracts might have a second thought. People traveling in and out of America might be affected, you know. There's just so much, you know. The ramifications are so wide. But I also wonder, what is this quick get rich quick, you know, phenomenon that we have. You know, nobody wants to walk anymore. Nobody wants to take the time. You know, you see pictures and videos of the young men literally dancing on top of dollars and all of that, and buying new cars and flashy cars and all of that, and they are with the girls, they are stripper bars. At the end of the day, you know, you need to look in, reflect inwards, and say to yourself, oh, how much peace did you even have? The peace, did all the money, the diamonds and all of that, how much peace did they give you? You know, what your parents think, your loved ones, you know, and all of that. It's just, you're affecting so many people on so many levels. You know, I want to know what you guys think. What do you think the ramifications of this whole thing will be to Nigerians, to their family members and their friends, and to them? You know, these are young men in their prime. They're going to have to probably spend a few years or 5-10 years of their prime years in jail. It's sad all around, you know. But like I said, I only wish that the country that they're coming from would, you know, do better, you know, give them more, you know, do more employment, because currently the unemployment rate in Nigeria is about almost 20%. So that means 1 in 5 is not unable to get a job even when they are qualified, and even if they do get that job, they're not being paid properly, you know. So that's probably why they get into this yahoo thing, you know. So we have to really do better, but that is still no excuse for this trying to be flamboyant and live that life. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Be sure to share, be sure to like, and be sure to subscribe. See ya.